Well, good morning once again, or it might be afternoon for you. I don't know. We're picking up again in our study in 2 Peter, and we left off in verse 14. So we'll pick up in verse 15 and we'll go through 16. Now, he's still describing the characteristics of these false teachers. He says, they have left the straight way and wandered off to follow the way of Balaam. I'll explain what that means a little bit. They follow the way of Balaam, son of Beor, who loved the wages of wickedness. Notice again the emphasis on their concern about making money. But he was rebuked for his wrongdoing by a donkey, a beast without speech, who spoke with a man's voice and restrained the prophet's madness. Now, this probably sounds very obscure to some of you. So let me pick it up. If you go to the book in the Old Testament, the book of Numbers, chapter 22, you can read all about Balaam. Balaam was an authentic prophet of God, meaning that God was speaking to him and through him. But Balaam himself was not a loyal servant of God. Balaam cared a great deal about money, and so he was willing to use the spiritual gifting that God had given him just to bring money to himself. So when the Israelites were leaving the promise or coming across from Egypt, going toward the promised land, they had to pass through the territory of the Moabites. And the king of Moab, a guy named Balak, he goes to Balaam the prophet and he says, I want you to curse the Israelites, curse the people of God, because the Moabites were afraid that they were going to drive them out of their land. Sure enough, Balaam gets a good financial offer from Balak, the king of Moab, and he tries on 4 different occasions to curse the Israelites, but every time he tries to curse them, God speaks a blessing to him. And then the king of the Moabites, Balak, he gets madder and madder because he's paying this guy money and he's not cursing him. And Balaam, to his credit, keeps telling the king, he says, I can only say what God says to me. I can't force a curse upon them. So that's the context. Now, in this one strange portion of Scripture in Numbers 22, the Lord is about to execute Balaam, the prophet, the mercenary prophet, and he's riding on his donkey, and the donkey was given the ability to see the spiritual dimension, and it says the angel of the Lord was standing with a sword, and on 3 different occasions the donkey tries to avoid the angel of the Lord with the sword because the angel is going to kill Balaam. Balaam each time takes a stick and beats a donkey, and finally the Lord causes a human voice to come through the donkey and try to reason with the prophet. So it's a rather strange story, to be sure. But Peter is applying it because he's trying to give a characteristic, an outstanding characteristic of these false teachers. They're all about money. They're trying to use spiritual sounding teaching to make money from the people. They're mercenary. They have bad motives in what they do. So he uses this old story of Balaam to bring it to the surface. Read it at some time on your own. It's Numbers chapter 22. It's quite a story. See you tomorrow.